In 1991, Richard Tarnas released The Passion of the Western Mind, a vast history of Western thought. It became an unexpected bestseller. In it, he argued that Western skepticism and materialism had been a heroic project, but had also created an intellectual prison, and that it was creating a crisis. 27 years on, where are we in that process?
In terms of where we are historically and in this moment of history, I think we're at a very pivotal place, very volatile, very uncertain. And all of these qualities are very characteristic of this threshold of the death-rebirth process, because you have to have an uncertain outcome. You have to have the conviction of uncertainty for such a transformation to actually be successful. You have to really feel that everything is at stake and it might not work out for the moral transformation to take place. You can't. We all know how what people who have a near-death experience tend to come out of it with a rather radical change of their life philosophy, but you can't have a pretend near-death experience for it to have that kind of moral, spiritual, psychological transformation. You really have to feel everything's at stake and the result is uncertain. And that's just how we're experiencing it today, only on a collective scale. Everything that Joseph Campbell described as the initiatory experience, like the crisis of meaning, the being isolated from the rest of the community, the sense of facing one's own mortality, the personal suffering, the deconstruction of the old identity, or like an old self is dying. Everything that I just described, which is happening on the personal level in an initiation, is what's happening on the collective level to our human civilization. Except it's now, we're looking at planetary mortality rather than just an individual person's mortality. And we're looking at reconstructing, reconceiving the death of, we're having to go through a dying of our whole identity about who we are relative to nature, who we are relative to the cosmos. And are we really living in a disenchanted cosmos in which we're the only intelligent spiritual being in town? Or are we embedded in an ensouled universe of inconceivable depth and mystery and intelligence, of which we are an expression? We are the cosmos in human form, and it's that happens in the state of spiritual rebirth that we reconnect to the sense that we are cosmic beings, and we're also participating in something much bigger than us. So we simultaneously are humbled by the experience, but also exalted by reconnecting to the whole that is infused through us. So I think we're at a very dicey place right now, where the question is, will enough people, individuals, go through this kind of profound inner transformation and inner work, inner journey, to be able to go through what is basically a kind of symbolic spiritual death, so that we don't have to do it literally. And we've already set in motion destructive forces, and some of those forces are already affecting the world, and probably are going to continue. And the question is, will the kind of near-death experience that we are kind of going through in sort of slow motion right now be sufficient to catalyze enough of a psychospiritual transformation in enough people that those people can serve as centers of insight and equilibrium, so to inform the whole in a way. it doesn't take everybody to do this, but it takes enough people who are able to, their sensibility, their transformation can ripple out, through the kind of work that you do with your organization and with the kinds of access that we have through podcasts and things that aren't being put on the mainstream channels of television or even taught in the universities. I think that can ripple out enough where if enough individuals are carrying that transformation, it can actually help catalyze a larger transformation in the collective, because it's at just such moments of instability that kind of chaotic disequilibrium can suddenly reconfigure in a new way, in ways that are not possible when it's not so volatile. So that's my fervent hope, and maybe I'll just end this with the idea that hope itself can play a role. I think to have hope and faith in the darkness is very important, and in some sense it's only in dark periods that you develop faith and hope. If everything's just light and glorious and hunky-dory, you don't develop those muscles. It's something that happens in challenging times, and that develops the moral, spiritual fiber that we need. And hope is one of those virtues that I think cultivating that will be very important.